In 2002, I went on a pilgrimage to Mount Kailash, and on my return I painted a triptych in which I crystallized my travel experiences and insights. Situated in the Tibetan Trans-Himalayas, the Kailash region is of extraordinary beauty and exceptional geography. Mount Kailash itself rises from the surrounding landscape as an imposing natural pyramid. Its snow-capped summit resembles a giant crystal. On each of Kailash's different sides lies the source of a great river. The Indus to the north, the Sutlej to the west, the Tsangpo or Brahmaputra to the east, and the Karnali, a tributary of the Ganges, to the south. All this makes the Kailash area a geographically oversized mandala, drawing a cosmological model full of meaning. This model can be scaled to any dimension and is equally relevant for describing the universal forces as well as the microcosm of man. Mount Kailash itself is the center of this mandala, an energy vortex connecting the manifest world with the divine. Because of this unique constellation, Mount Kailash is considered sacred in Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and the Bon religion, and is often referred to as the Axis Mundi. I won't go into the significance of Mount Kailash to these different religions, as there is plenty of information available. I would rather like to shed some light on the experiential potential of a pilgrimage to Mount Kailash. To do this, I will highlight some aspects that I feel are important for understanding what such a pilgrimage is all about. The whole area around Mount Kailash is permeated with a vibrant spiritual atmosphere. It is the ideal place to experience what a spiritual animistic worldview is all about. Let us first take a closer look at animistic cosmology. This perspective comes from a consciousness that gravitates towards an awareness of the cosmic energies, whether they are the vital forces within our own being or the energies that surround us. This is the understanding that everything is alive and animated. There is a constant interaction between all that exists, an interplay without which life would not be possible. And we as human beings are constantly taking part in this interaction. In recent history, man has moved away from this energetic sensitivity. Rationalism and scientific materialism determine the way we see ourselves and the world. Instead of supporting and integrating all our different abilities, the intellectual approach has become dictatorial. The qualities and abilities of our energetic intelligence are frowned upon as being subjective and primitive, and unsuited to understanding existence. There is some truth in this assertion if our energy body is left unexplored and undeveloped, in which case our being is mostly governed by emotional arousal and mechanical response. But our energy body is the home of something precious, which I like to call our seed essence. The seed essence can be described as the innate psychic qualities we are born with, regardless of our upbringing and education. We could call it our psychic constitution. It is the result of our energetic and psychological heritage as a soul. But in a one-sided society, upbringing and education tend to suffocate a child's seed essence. An over-intellectualized and over-technologized society that adopts a mechanistic worldview and rejects the spiritual nature and interconnectedness of all that exists alienates us from our seed essence. Our natural state is suppressed and replaced by culture. We begin to become personalities. But it is our seed essence which, unlike the personality, is real and has the potential to grow, unfold and blossom into a higher self. And this brings us back to Mount Kailash, for it is precisely the desire for personal growth and spiritual unfoldment that is the motivation for undertaking a pilgrimage. So, it only makes sense to go on a pilgrimage if we are willing to connect and work with our essence. This means to be as fully present as possible, to be in a receptive state of being, and to allow ourselves to be touched by the energy fields that surround us. If we come with an intellectual approach, we turn into curious visitors, accumulating sterile knowledge. If we come with an athletic approach, the pilgrimage is reduced to a physical challenge. The mighty Kailash mandala, with all its elements pulsating with energy, facilitates our connection with our energy body and our essence. Here, the materialistic and intellectual approach has to take a back seat. For hundreds of years, great yogis have meditated here, strengthening the energy vortex that connects heaven and earth. A steady stream of pilgrims passes through the Kailash area, strengthening the gateways for the interaction between the cosmic forces and man. All this makes it easier for new visitors to become aware of these great fields of energy and consciousness. If we are receptive, the Kailash energy mandala acts as a catalyst for our inner purification and unfolding processes. Mount Kailash itself reflects our highest potential, and we are being reminded of the limitless sphere of consciousness. As such, the purpose of a pilgrimage is to progress through the different layers of our being, clearing and purifying with each step whatever is blocking our unfoldment. Gradually, energy and consciousness are freed from constricting identifications, revealing deeper levels of our being. Therefore, a true pilgrimage must also be an inner pilgrimage. It is this correlation between the outer and the inner pilgrimage that I depict in my triptych painting. The artwork is executed on 3 panels of mountain maple wood that are hinged together to form a triptych, allowing the painting to be closed or opened. The composition can be overlaid with a geometric matrix. The main component is a series of curved lines repeated 6 times. The pilgrimage is depicted as a journey through 7 steps, which correspond to the different chakra centers. My wife and I were part of a small group led by Roman Müller, an experienced Kailash guide. Not only does Roman place great emphasis on ecological aspects, but he also encourages an open and mindful attitude. We approached Mount Kailash on foot from Simikot in Nepal, following the Karnali River for many days. I divided the various mountain ranges before reaching the Tibetan plateau into 5 stages, corresponding to the first 5 chakras. The first stages are painted in darker colors to symbolize the influences of our subconscious layers in the lower chakras. Tibetan Buddhist iconography has been incorporated into the landscape. We see Yama, the Lord of Death, holding the Wheel of Life, a wild tiger, and an illustration of Yapyum, which I have used here to symbolize sexual polarity. Further along the path, the colors of the landscape brighten. Again, we find Tibetan Buddhist images hidden in the landscape. We can see an illustration of Buddha, the syllables of the Om Mani Padme Hum mantra, the tenfold powerful one or Kala Chakra seed syllable, and the great Tibetan saint Milarepa. The circles that form the outline of Mount Kailash meet on the path where the fourth chakra is located. This has been done deliberately to highlight the heart chakra. It houses our potential higher mental and feeling faculties. This heart energy center is the middle one of our 7 chakras. It connects the exoteric and esoteric aspects of our being. It is the center where we begin to become aware of the deeper mysteries of life, the sacredness of existence, and our own spiritual nature. When we reach the Tibetan plateau, we enter the realms of the 6th chakra. In the painting, I have embedded this area with Tibetan Buddhist scriptures. In the center are the lakes of Mansarovar and Rakshastal, right in front of Mount Kailash. They are considered complementary, illustrating the inherent duality of the manifest world. I have essentialized their forms into a moon and sun shape to emphasize their polar opposite qualities. The pilgrimage path passes exactly between the lakes, just as the third eye lies between our left and right eyes, which are connected to our 2 cerebral hemispheres. At the level of the 6th chakra, our consciousness expands into a new dimension. We gain clear vision and an existential understanding of the cosmic forces. The last part of the trail winds up to Mount Kailash itself. Mount Kailash is a most majestic and powerful reminder of the sacred and the divine. This is the transcendental realm of the 7th chakra, revealing our deepest nature, pure consciousness. The entire outer path of the pilgrimage is projected inward as we close the sides of the triptych. We are greeted by a meditating figure that fits the same matrix as the composition of the front of the painting. Here the path does not wind through the landscape but connects the different chakra centers. This is the path of spiritual unfoldment. It requires sincere motivation and courage to embark on this inner pilgrimage. It requires a constant willingness to let go of the ego. It means dying to old identifications and embracing our deeper and truer being. It took us 3 days to complete the outer Kora, a 53-kilometer trek clockwise around Mount Kailash. We were rewarded with magnificent views of all 4 sides of the mountain. On the 2nd day, we crossed the Drolmala Pass, the highest point on the outer Kora at about 5,650 meters. According to the Tibetan Buddhist calendar, 2002 was a horse year. This made it possible to also undertake the inner Kora, which leads to the rock face of Mount Kailash itself. A few of us ventured out on this arduous 30-kilometer trek. We traversed a lot of snowy terrain and had to improvise our way up the cliff to even higher altitudes as the outer Kora. We were rewarded with a most sacred site where 13 pagodas have been erected. For me, the pilgrimage to Mount Kailash was the most extraordinary journey I've ever undertaken. It was the fulfillment of the deepest wish of many of my lives. But in the midst of the immense gratitude for this unique opportunity and the many impressions, the fulfillment of this old wish unexpectedly left me with an inner emptiness. A deep motivational energy that had been kept alive for so many lives had suddenly been released. Since for me Mount Kailash is the most sacred place that one can come across, all of a sudden all impulses for further seeking in the external world were extinguished. The completion of the Kailash pilgrimage marked a radical change on my spiritual path. From that point on, I dedicated myself completely to the inner pilgrimage. This totality led to an inner awakening 7 years later, where I was granted to experience the grace of what Mount Kailash stands for. With my pilgrimage painting, I want to express that our life's journey should not be that of an accidental tourist. Let us be courageous pilgrims, ready to explore and unfold ourselves with each step of our journey. In this way, each place and each moment can become a part of our pilgrimage. May this path lead us to the radiant light where the inner and outer Kailash merge.